All right, fantasy football week 13 we are now. Hard to believe we are almost to the end of this season already. Feels like it just started, especially with how long of a year 2020's been. It's gone pretty fast for the NFL and fantasy football. So this is our week 13 fantasy football stardom situm. If you're a fantasy football fan, please subscribe to our channel. We will have more shows as the year comes to an end each week for stardom situm. First, we want to get started with the Oakland Raiders, Devontae Booker. Of course, Josh Jacobs is out with an undisclosed injury slash illness, so Devontae Booker will get the start against the pathetic New York Jets on Sunday. So this is a must start. I mean, any running back against the Jets is a must start.
I think anyone running back or receiver is a must start against the Jets.
Yes. I mean, I would even go to say start Henry Ruggs. If you need a receiver, start Henry Ruggs.
Yes.
Even though he hasn't done very good in the last couple of games, start Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, I would.
I'm projecting Booker to get over 100 yards easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible.
And not to lie, I mean, sometimes he's looked better than Josh Jacobs at times when he's been
Yeah,
as the number two back.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how well he does. Um, but, I mean, he's going up against a team that he should shine against. If
Yeah.
he doesn't, I will be shocked.
Yes. Now, to concussion protocol now is gone for David Johnson. Feels like it's been a whole year since he played, but it's only been 4 or 5 weeks. Duke Johnson proved that he is trash because he did nothing in place of David Johnson. So David Johnson gets to start this week. I have him as a stardom, even though he's playing Indianapolis. And the only reason I have him as a stardom is because Houston is going to go to a run-heavy offense now with Will Fuller on the suspended list for PEDs. God bless. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. But with him on the suspended list now for the rest of the season, Houston's going to be a run-heavy offense or maybe even a screen pass check down offense. So even if you got David Johnson in a PPR league, you need to start him.
Yeah, I'll be starting him. Actually, wait a minute. I traded
Yeah, I
David
had David
Johnson to
Johnson
you.
from you, so I
That's
have
right.
him now. He's
Forgive
only
me.
projected 10 points, but I have a feeling he might go off.
I think he'll go off too. Um, God, I wish I didn't trade you him just because of how Ezekiel Elliott is.
Yeah, speaking of Zeke, we're going to put him as a sit-em this week. I mean, he's
Yeah,
going up
see,
against the Ravens run defense that's been kind of sketchy this year, but they shut down
mhm.
Pittsburgh, and Elliott's just sucked the last 4 or 5 games. I mean, he's looked nowhere near what he looked like 2 years ago.
No, and it's all his fault too. He's got no one else to blame but him. I mean, people can be like, well, the offensive line, blah, blah, but he doesn't hang on to the ball. That's number one.
He
Number
had five
two,
fumbles his whole career coming into this year. He has 5 fumbles this year already.
yeah, and he got 5 fumbles in what, a game and a half?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, gee whiz. I don't know what's going on with him this year. I just don't. And since I have him, on my team, I have kind of no choice but to start him. So I'll probably start him and then watch the game and be like, why am I even wasting my time watching this game? Because it's the Cowboys and they've just look horrendous, is the understatement. I mean, if the Jets were not so pitiful, I'd say the Cowboys are the worst team in the league. I mean, I truly
Exactly.
would believe that, and they definitely, let me tell you, they definitely find a way to spectacularly lose more in fashion style points than they did the week before. Just when you think that it could never be done, it's done. I just pray I never see another fake punt on 4th and 10 from my own 25-yard line.
Exactly. Now that brings me to wide receivers. DJ Chark Jr. Chenault's coming back from injury. I believe Keenan Cole's back from injury, but I still have Chark as a stardom because Mike Glennon proved last week that he can throw in the air, he can throw for yardage. I I think he's going to really target DJ Chark a lot against the Minnesota secondary that's kind of picked it up a little bit, but they're still not the greatest secondary out there.
Yeah, that's kind of a coin flip for me. I got Chark on my team. I'm pretty deep at wide receiver. So, but here's the deal. I am debating starting him. I truly am because I
I
think,
would start
I
because,
think I'd start him,
yes,
just because it's like, what other weapons do they have? I mean, it's interesting because there was a guy on my Star Watch, that Calvin Johnson, 6'6", 6'7", wide receiver out of Texas. He was one of the studs last year. I mean, it was such a deep class this year for wide receivers. And he had a spectacular game last game. But with Char coming back, and I believe Cole coming back, and Chenault coming back, to being fully healthy, I believe he'll be on the back burner. So don't go pick him up. That's Calvin Johnson. But I
uh,
would, I'd play Chark. So, you know,
I would
that's if you're
say,
desperate enough, I guess.
yeah. Um, Here's the big question now, tight end wise. Zach Ertz coming off the IR, but Dallas Goddard still a tight end one option because Zach Ertz is not fully healthy. And I believe Dallas and their Eagles like to run a two tight end set. And I believe
Uh,
Dallas Goddard's 100% healthy. Zach Ertz is still probably
yeah,
not
I'd
going to get
play.
much playing time.
It's funny because, you look throughout the whole league, unless you had Kittle, Kelsey, Andrews per se. Um, Outside of those three guys, really, there's really not very good tight ends for production wise.
Yes.
And you know what? I'd play Goddard. I truly would because even if he gets half the snaps or half the looks, I mean, he's a guy who will break out, you know, for big plays. And I believe that they always throw it to him when he's 10 yards down the field anyway. So there's an automatic close to 2 points per pop. So that's if you count the reception as a point and the 10 yards as a point as well, like most leagues that I've been into. So that's just my whole take. I'd start them.
Exactly. And of course, I want to get to I love this guy as quarterback because I'm a Chiefs fan. Every Chiefs fan loves this guy after what happened last year. But Fitzmagic, hashtag Fitzpatrick. We don't know if he's going to start tomorrow. It's a game time decision between him and Tua Tagovailoa. If Miami Dolphins are smart, they would start Fitzpatrick. I mean, this guy has won. Well, let me see. Tua won 2 games. Fitzpatrick's 5-3, 5-2 as a Miami starter. So
Mhm.
I understand you want to get Tua in there. He's got that thumb injury. If he can play, he can play. But Tua's proved he's not ready yet. He's a game manager. He hasn't passed for over 200 yards yet. He's ran the ball more times than he's passed pretty much. But if Fitzpatrick plays, I would put Fitzpatrick as a starter, a stardom in a fantasy league, PPR league.
Yeah, I'd play Fitzpatrick as well if I were them. He's played really well. I understand there's the whole thing with Tua and really wanting to get him out there, see what he's got. Well, not just got, but also improve on what he's shown.
Yeah.
But, if you want to score the points, Fitzpatrick's shown to be the guy to do that. So I think he's scored more points when he's in the game than Tua,
Oh yeah.
And anyway, that's just my take. I would start Fitzpatrick if they go with Fitzpatrick.
Now here's a question: do you start Kenyon Drake or do you start Chris Edmonds or Chase Edmonds? Sorry.
That's a toss up, but I'd lean towards Edmonds because, Edmonds to me has been the more consistent back for the Cardinals this whole year. Even though, don't take me wrong, Drake's a pretty good back in himself. Okay. I know last week was a bit lopsided. Don't quite really understand why it was. But, Drake found himself to be in the end zone more than Edmonds, and plus got more carries, I believe, last game than Edmonds. But Edmonds has that breakout ability, as well as you can put him in the passing game. That one's kind of a crapshoot to me. So if you're in desperate mode, I would start him. If you got somebody else, that has a more favorable matchup, I'd probably start that other person. But I don't think you can go wrong starting Chris Edmonds. I really don't. So to each their own. Good luck to you on that one.
I will say, and as I said last week with the Denver Broncos wide receivers, to sit them because they didn't have a quarterback. This
Mm-hmm.
week, I'm going to say right now, if you have a Bengals wide receiver, hint, hint for you, Adam, do not play them because Brandon Allen is only projected 20 points in a PPR league. So that just tells you right there and then that, do not play a Bengals wide receiver tomorrow. They're not going to get points.
Yeah,
Going up against the Miami defense, which is a tough defense.
It is tough. Yeah. And, though, Higgins is third on that list, and typically the guy who's third or fourth on the depth chart typically has the quote unquote breakout game compared to, the 1 and 2 up against a good defense. So it'll be interesting to see how well he does. I'm kind of leaning with you to sit Higgins, and any Bengal receiver, really. But I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. If you don't have options, I'd play him. Even if you have like one other guy, you might want to play the other guy, but I don't know. I mean, it's such a weird matchup. And I know Miami's D is pretty good. I mean, there's no denying that. But at the same time, one person on that offense is going to break out. So it's like you roll with A.J. Green, Boyd, or Higgins.
You in there without Joe Mixon, so you never know. I mean,
yeah, that's true. And there's no Joe Mixon. Is there Joe Mixon? I don't think
he's
there
out.
is.
It's back to Giovanni Bernard.
Ew.
Let's get to another disappointing running back. Todd Gurley is a must sit him against the New Orleans defense. This guy has done nothing over the span of the season, and he's just I literally think Todd McVay ruined this guy.
He probably could have. He very well could have, But, it's Todd Gurley. Maybe next year he'll perform better. I know what's funny to me about these stardom and sit-ems is it's just so weird to me. Like, the guys who you should sit them, you might get one or two that are actually right. You should have sit them. But, like, the other ones who say sit them actually kind of break out somewhat. Yeah. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard with Todd Gurley just because it's a rivalry game, too, because Atlanta does not like the Saints and vice versa. So it's like, yeah, I mean, should Todd Gurley be set? Yeah, he should be, but you never know, he could produce. But I'm with you. I'd sit him.
Yeah. Now, the last guy I want to get to, because he showed up last week, Jarvis Landry. With Odell Beckham being out, Landry showed up last week. The guy did great last week. A lot of passes. He had over 100 yards receiving, over 80 yards receiving, had a touchdown. I'm going to put him in my stardom this week.
Yeah, I'd put Landry in there as well. And, if you got Hooper like I do, I'm going to probably put him in there.
Well, I think Baker Mayfield's finally – I don't know. I think he's finally starting to get under control now late in the season. Mm-hmm. Probably a good thing because late in the season, 8-3, they're in the playoff push.
Yeah, and definitely for the first time in forever, Cleveland will end with a what?
Winning record.
Over 500 record.
Since 2007.
Yep. So anyway, no, I'm with you. I'd start Landry. And if you got Hooper, I'd start Hooper because he's always been one or two catches from really breaking out. And typically those one or two, he'll get you a touchdown here and there, but really it should be like 2 or 3, to be perfectly honest. But he will get you some points. So if you got Landry, you got Hooper, I'd start him. And
Yeah.
if you got Andrews like I do, unfortunately, he's still on the COVID list. Will he be off? Who knows? But let's say he does end up, off the COVID list and you need a tight end in the pinch, I would start him because he's playing the hapless Cowboys. And oh, by the way, the Washington tight end last week, I believe it was
Logan
last week.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he scored.
Yes. Cowboys and tight ends do not get along very well.
No, they don't.
So, all right. That's our this week's stardom and sit-ems for fantasy football week 13. Hope
Oh, can I
guys
do a
out.
bonus one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and yes, I know we talked about the Broncos receivers. Okay, and I'm right there with you to really be hesitant about them.
But hey, Drew Lock
But
back.
Patrick,
Yes, Tim
okay,
Patrick.
T. Patrick, all right. If he is not picked up in fantasy football, pick him up. I'm telling you, because he's actually, if you compare him to any receiver, Judy, what have you, he's actually produced over double-digit point totals. So I highly, highly recommend picking him up. You can sit him this week if you want, which is up to
Well, they
you.
play the Chiefs, so they got a good chance of getting points.
Plus, yeah, because you have to, because it needs to be a shootout, because you got to put points on the board. So if he's available in your league, pick him up. So
All right.
that's all I had to say.
There's our bonus one. So, all right, go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you're fantasy football. Again, we got 4 more weeks left for fantasy football. Playoffs coming up for most leagues next week. Playoffs for most leagues in 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for our videos, and we'll try to help you guys out. Thank you.